Hello, hello. Welcome to Healthy Perspectives, a podcast that takes on current cultural and social issues through a clinical lens. All right. Hello, hello. Welcome back. Thank you so much for joining us. As always, we appreciate your time. And today we are going to go over three things. That's right. Three things that you and everybody else should absolutely stop saying. You should stop saying them to yourselves. You should stop saying them about other people. You should just stop. Those three things are not overly complicated, but they cover a wide range of stupidity that happens in our world. Some that you direct at yourself and some that you direct at other people. But stupidity is stupidity, folks. It doesn't matter what form it comes in, right? When I deal with clients who hurt themselves, let's say, they cut themselves on purpose. There's lots of reasons why that kind of stuff happens. But one of the things that I tell them routinely, and obviously from a place of love, care, compassion, and all that kind of good stuff, that important relational stuff that needs to be present. But one of the things I tell them is, if somebody else did that to you, I would be so pissed. I would literally want to hurt them if they did that to you. Why would I feel anything else when you do it to yourself? The purpose behind that statement is that undervaluing that happens when we direct crap at ourselves, which I'm going to get after. So number one, I'm worse than. It insinuates inferiority. That should be out of your vocabulary. I am worse than. What also should be in that same category and out of your vocabulary is they are worse than. We shouldn't direct it toward ourselves and we shouldn't direct it toward others. You have gifts, they have gifts. You have limits, they have limits. It doesn't mean you're better than or worse than, which leads us to number two. I'm better than. You shouldn't say you're better than either. Now, can you be better than somebody, say, at reading fast? Sure. Can you be a faster runner? Sure. Can you be taller and therefore reach higher? And so you're better at getting things from the top shelf? Yes. That is all true. And it doesn't make you better than other people as a whole. That whole generalization of better than, worse than, whether it applies to me or to you, is crap. It all insinuates inferiority or superiority. Now, let's just venture down those paths for just a moment. Inferiority, we know that leads to shame, right? That's the idea that I am unworthy. Okay. Inferiority also, when you're directing it at others, could lead to a sense of righteousness and pride, which is problematic. Better than, which is superiority, leads to those narcissistic tendency, right? The justification of whatever I say is good enough. Why? Because I am better than them. Or whatever they say, putting somebody else on this unrealistic pedestal, whatever they say is what should be because they are better than. Now, we can't dismiss the knowledge, wisdom, experience, and stuff that some people have, but we also don't want to overcredit it. And I'm better than, or they are better than, I'm worse than, or they are worse than. What that does is it puts an imbalance in your judgment. And we're going to get to that here in a few minutes too. Okay. The third thing. So that's number one and two. I'm worse than, they're worse than. I'm better than, they're better than. Okay. The third one is, and this is the one that's driving me the most nuts right now in our culture. Our culture is really screwed up in this one. I deserve. Holy crud, people. Figure your crap out. Look, I want you to have everything that you desire, but you don't deserve everything. I want everything I desire. My 12-year-old has been asking for a four-wheeler for a year. That's not happening anytime soon. I want her to have one. I would love for her. When I was a kid, I had access to a four-wheeler. I didn't actually have my own, but I had access to one for a length of time. And I loved it. It was a freedom. I also, when I was 13 or 14, it was around 13, my uncle took me to the mountain and I had the freedom of skis for the first time. And then I later snowboarded and all that kind of stuff. The mountain to me is freedom. I want these things for myself and for others. But do we deserve them? When I get to the point where I say, I deserve them, then I enter justification central. Justification central is where we take on the victim mentality, or we take on the superiority mentality. It's where things like race and fascism and all of that yucky stuff, disgusting stuff that our culture is shoving down your throats right now and into your ears and in any orifice it can get into. It's saying these stupid things. And it's doing it under the I deserve or they deserve bubble. And that should be out of our vocabulary. Do I want you to have everything? Of course. I want you to have relational success and love and vehicles and homes and like all of that stuff is great. I want you to have that. And from a therapeutic lens, I can tell you factually that stuff doesn't solve all your problems, and it never has, and it never will solve all your problems. If you feel superior because you could go to fancy restaurants and wear fancy suits and drink fancy wines and hang out with other fancy people, you're in that situation not being too bright, because it doesn't solve all your problems. Relational problems fall outside the purview of all of this other stuff of better than, worse than, comparative nature, or I deserve. It falls outside of that. Relational success falls outside of all of that stuff. You can have the best, most successful business on the planet and be an unhappy, poor soul. It happens. You could spend 80 hours a week creating your version of success only to be miserable. You can also spend 80 hours creating jack squat, achieving jack squat, doing nothing, playing games on a cellular phone, and you will also be miserable. So when I say the three things that you should take out of your vocabulary, that I should take, that we should take out of our vocabulary: better than, worse than, deserve. Get them out. Get them out. And I'll tell you what disappears as soon as you start doing that. Racism begins to disappear. Fascism begins to disappear because it breaks down hierarchy. And when you break down hierarchy, it's not one superior being that is just like you and me. It'll take away things like lazy, dumb, It'll take away things that you just don't need in your life. What's cool about it is it creates bandwidth. You've probably been with me for a while. Some of you I know have. And you heard me talk about scarcity a long while back, maybe 3 months, something like that. And anything we can do to increase bandwidth, capacity to process the things that need to be processed is a good thing. And so let's say we miraculously created bandwidth. You just decided, I had an epiphany. I was listening to Jeremiah and I decided better than, worse than, and deserve just are out. And it creates this void. What fills that void? I can tell you what needs to fill that void. I can't decide for you what falls into it, but I can tell you what needs to fall into it. From a clinical lens, what needs to fall into it is morality. You're like, oh, you're going to get all Jesus me on me here. Well, you could go that way, and I'd be okay if you did. But that's not the point. Your morals have to be solid truths that can transfer through space and time, through cultures, languages, all of it. They're solid truths. It's going to be something like love, which I've done a whole bunch of talking about love in the past. I'm not going to go back to that right now. But something like that transcends time, space, cultures, languages. If you love and you love deeply, even if somebody doesn't speak your language, you enter their space, they feel it. They experience it from you. Love, it's one of those things. Yep. Another one that transcends things. Space, time, unity. We're talking like family, friendship, transcends. I'll prove it to you right here. Have you ever, and most of you probably have you ever had that friend, that one friend that you could say not talk to for a year, 6 months, 5 years, and the moment you begin to talk with them and they begin to talk with you, it's as if you were never apart. You may have lots of catching up to do, but the bond, that unity, is immediately present as soon as you see, embrace, connect, no matter what form it's in, phone, video, in person, that bond is still there. Yeah, that's the proof, folks. You got to find things that transcend space and time, culture and language. And there are some. Those are where you set your moral structures. You establish those in those hard realities. And from there, you're going to find it's not about deserving. It's not about worse than or better than. That's the replacement. So the 3 things people should stop saying is better than, worse than, deserve. That's what should happen. And they should be replaced with a moral structure that's based on truth, that's based on reality, like love and friendship, family. I hope this was helpful. I know this is a hard-hitting one, but I am coming back this week, and I've got one that's a little bit more entertaining, and I'm going to address some of this stuff again, a little bit more detail too. We're going to, over the holiday, my family encouraged me to watch the Barbie movie. I hadn't seen it. Wasn't sure if I wanted to. It didn't really appeal to me. And I watched it. I'm going to tell you all about my experience. And there is some cultural content for sure. There's some psychological content for sure. And I hope you'll join us for that one in just a couple of days. Thanks for joining us today. Please like, subscribe, do all those things. It helps us keep things going. And I appreciate your time. Hey, everybody. Thanks for listening. We appreciate our audience a lot, so we give you some simple ways to track us down. Please like, subscribe, and follow all the podcasts on different platforms, but you can also email us at healthyperspectives@protonmail.com, or you can check out our website at healthy-perspectives.com/podcast. It's a backward slash. So if you want to go to our landing page, if you go to healthy-perspectives.com, you'll still find us. You just got to click on the podcast button. Thank you so much.